Hey everybody, this is totally Tropical Todd here with an update on Hurricane Milton. So, for those of you that, whether you're watching this or not, I'm not going to make any assumptions in terms of if you've been watching the storm. So, for those of you who don't know, Milton is currently in the western part of the Gulf of Mexico, developing into a hurricane. It's actually was projected to kind of move directly due east. Now it's moving more like east southeast. So the effect on the Yucatan Peninsula may be larger than originally anticipated. So, Jeru, if you're down there, be safe in Cancun. Um, you could see this is developing currently into a hurricane. There's actually like a little bit of eye formation that drones have recorded earlier today, forming into a major hurricane. This, sometime on Monday, sometime tomorrow, this should be forming a major hurricane. It's not projected to hit the Yucatan, but certainly, have a much wider wind field. Now, if you notice, currently the core of this storm, the hurricane force winds here, are actually very small, and that's important that this is a very small core hurricane. So if you've ever spun a top, right? If you know like the big tops that kind of they spin a little bit more stably, they might wobble a little, but they're not going to like zip around as much as like a tiny little top. And that's kind of how these hurricanes work. The smaller they are, the tighter they are, the more that something in the wind, something in the atmosphere something in the ocean can affect them. So this is a small tight core hurricane, like think more akin to an Andrew, right? A really small tight core, which means it could intensify more than we're projecting. It could intensify less. Things that could impact it can impact it even greater because of the small size. So keep that in mind. There's much more uncertainty with a small core storm than with a great big giant one. So this is projected to form into a major hurricane sometime Monday. There is also a warm plume of water coming up from the Caribbean into the Gulf. So as it crosses over this on Tuesday, this could intensify even further, and it's projected to make landfall sometime Wednesday on the western part of the Florida Peninsula. And we say sometime Wednesday somewhere on the peninsula because currently there is not great model agreement of exactly where the storm is going. So, anywhere in this circle here is where the hurricane is likely to be 1 p.m. on Wednesday, right? If you see, this is just the center of the circle. This is that circle of uncertainty for Wednesday at 1 p.m. It could have already made landfall and be over Orlando. It could have, veered further north and be heading towards, it could be going for, tracking more north. It could be tracking more south. So currently it is turning a little more southerly right now, which doesn't necessarily change the projections, but could. So the key takeaway here is to please take precaution and pay attention to this. Don't have this attitude like, we've gotten hit by a Cat 3 before and it didn't flood at my house, because just a slight steering of the storm hitting from a different angle than you've been hit before. So like I think it was Ivan that had come up from the south that hit this area fairly recently. That's a very different kind of storm surge it's going to bring than a hurricane here swirling around counterclockwise and pulling water in to this area, to the area to the south. And don't pay a lot of attention to where this exactly falls. Like where you are on this map is not so important today, right? Because we don't know exactly where this hurricane is going to make landfall. But as it starts to move into Monday, Tuesday, this cone will get smaller and smaller, and we'll be able to narrow down much better where it's going to hit. And remember that right-hand side, or in this case, the south side of the storm, is likely to have the strongest winds, but also the biggest storm surge. And I think the storm surge here is, for the west coast of Florida, is of larger concern than the massive rainfall and wind fields that we can get from this. So let's just take a look. This is projected tropical storm force winds, and you can see, there's a chance that anywhere on the Florida Peninsula we could be getting tropical storm force winds. If we go up to our 50 knot winds, right, you can see still a large portion of the peninsula could be hit. Of course, in these darker greens, you're looking at 5 to 10% chance. Oops, sorry about that. Did not mean to navigate away. So but here along the west coast of Florida, we're looking at a much higher chance in any one particular spot of this having an impact. So, we look at some of the potential for storm surges. The red areas are greater than 9 feet, and you could see just because of the way that the west coast of Florida is, it's very flat. You can get pretty heavy storm surge fairly far inland. So don't think that just because you've been safe in the past, you're necessarily safe now. If you're in an evacuation zone, please get out of there. Some key takeaways right now, right? It's forecast to be a major hurricane when it reaches the Florida Peninsula midweek, likely sometime late Wednesday. But again, the timing is also a little uncertain, the exact place it's going to hit. And that's what they're saying, significant uncertainty in the forecast track and intensity, right? So we really have to watch this. Too soon to specify the exact magnitude and location of the greatest impacts, right? That's really the key takeaway here, right? So we need to follow this carefully, right? We need to think about, the funding we're giving these agencies that also produce this as well, right? Areas of heavy rainfall are going to be all over Florida. So we're getting really heavy rainfall right now in Florida due to a low pressure that's sitting off of the coast. In between that low pressure and Milton, they're both moving towards the Florida Peninsula. There's like a little dry slot that we'll get. So we should get a break in the rain, maybe, overnight Monday into Tuesday morning, maybe sometimes Tuesday. But then Tuesday, we're going to start getting, bans from Milton. So not a lot of break in the rain. We've already been having flooding here in parts of Florida. So, we're looking at adding a lot of water to already soaked ground. But, we know it's coming. So hopefully, the Army Corps is working on that right now. So just, and then also the Yucatan could get hit with some, tropical conditions. So, just please be careful. I'll try and record another video, maybe tomorrow evening just to give you guys an update, but stay safe and be careful.